Hello and welcome back. In the last video, we tested out abilities. In today's video, we're going to test out the talents. If you're new to Vault Hunters and aren't familiar with all of the talents, this is the right video for you. We're going to get each one, demonstrate it, and then put it on this ranked tier list behind me. So come along and enjoy the ride. If you've seen Iskall85's videos on Vault Hunters, then you're familiar that Twerker was one of the first talents that he took. So let's see what it does. Grants the ability to speed up tick rate on several objects while holding shift. The effectiveness range and objects scale with the talent level. So initially you've got a fairly small range and it only works on crops, but then you add melons, pumpkins, cactus, sugarcane, and even farm animals. Level 1 is the only one that you can get with no level requirement, although each level only requires one skill point. When the skill says it increases the tick rate, it's basically the same as bone mealing. In order to utilize the skill, you press and hold the shift key to squat, and it generates a lot of particles, much like you would see with bone meal, and you notice that all of the carrots are now fully grown. At level 1, it means that you can fertilize an area that's 3 by 3 of crop, and this means wheat, corn, carrots, and beetroot. There are some other crops in the game, like hemp, and it does not work on those. When you combine this skill with how a hoe, when you right-click, it will automatically harvest and replant the crop, it means that you can just squat in an area and twerk, hold down the right-click button on your mouse, and harvest essentially infinite crops for no work at all. Now, not only will this keep you fed for life, but, as you might expect, it is immensely useful for villager trading. And villager trading is immensely useful in and of itself. Because the trading is so important to villagers and villagers are so important to a Vault Hunter game, Twerker is an S-tier talent. Hands down, no questions asked, in my opinion. So back into the talent list, let me do a quick reminder that we're not going to be looking at any talents that require a level. And so with Twerker done, let's move on up to Experienced. Experienced says passively increases the value of XP orbs by multiplying how much experience the player gains from them. At level 1, it's 50% on up into much higher levels. The cost is relatively inexpensive, but you can only get 4 levels due to the level requirements down below. In order to test this one, I've killed myself, and now I have 5 bottles of XP. So let's throw these 5 bottles of XP and see where we are in terms of experience gained. Alright, so this puts us at just over 2 blocks into the 4th level. Alright, and I'm back, having freshly killed myself and having no experience. But I do have experience talent at level 1. So, let's throw these 5 bottles of XP. 1. And we are 2 blocks shy of 5th level. So it definitely did help us out and give more experience. Levels are also not linear. It takes more XP to get each successive level. So I'm not terribly surprised that we're not level 6, for instance. Now I should note that for this experienced talent, there was nothing that I had to do. There was no key press, there was no interaction that's necessary. It's completely passive. So this is a really good thing. There really isn't anything else to say about that. It does exactly what it says it's going to do. So the real question is, where does that factor in on the tier list? I feel like, especially for a beginning player, it's not that valuable. I feel like that is down here on the C level. In beginning Minecraft, you do need levels to get enchanting and to be able to apply your skill books. Those are pretty easily obtained in other ways. This will definitely help. However, I really don't see it as being a massive boost enough to warrant spending a skill point on. Next talent up is Water Breathing. This costs 2 skill points, has no level requirements, and grants the player immunity from drowning. Seems pretty straightforward, but let's go ahead and demonstrate it anyway. Without the skill, I think we're all well too familiar with these bubbles on the bar and drowning in this respect. With the skill, however, you can see the air bubbles do not go down. This is akin to using a conduit. This talent just seems super straightforward. You don't drown. Everybody's used to that. It's really nice, and we already have that capability with a conduit. So where does this feature? Now remember, this is for new players, so having a conduit is really not obtainable for a new player. But nevertheless, I feel like this is not a very useful skill. I feel like it's maybe situationally useful, but I'm going to put that down there on the D row. If you spawned in to a world that is mostly ocean and you want to try making a base underwater, then by all means, I think it would be a very good purchase. But for most cases, I think it's just not that useful, especially in the start of the game. The next talent up is Well Fit. This says it increases the player's amount of hearts. The hearts that you get is dependent on the levels that you spend, and you're limited to 2 levels based on the level requirements down below, but otherwise it's fairly inexpensive. So at present I have the standard 10 hearts available. Taking the skill, and now I have a new heart above the row, giving me a total of 11. You just can't go wrong with more hearts. That's clear. As a new player, is this worth it? You just can't go wrong with more hearts. There's nothing at all bad about it. Is it worth the skill point? Maybe. Maybe. It depends on your playstyle, maybe. But I am going to rank it a little higher than some of the others because it is useful in every circumstance and not situationally. I think you can certainly get by without it, but you can't go wrong with it. The next talent on this level is Unbreakable. It says, it passively adds unbreaking levels to the player. These levels stack on top of any unbreaking enchantments. Unbreaking grants a chance to not lose a durability on hit or use per level of unbreaking and is different for armor and tools and weapons. So we can only take 1 level of unbreaking, and at 2 skill points, it's kind of expensive to give you an additional 20% chance of avoiding durability on armor and 20% of avoiding durability usage on tools. Let's go ahead and take this one. To be honest, I have no idea how to demonstrate this. I mean, we could go whack some things with a tool and see that it maybe doesn't go down fast enough, but I think there's enough information in the talent to just go ahead and rank it straight out. So where is Unbreaking going to fit on this tier list for a new player? At 2 points, it's fairly expensive. There are some kinds of armor later on in the game that cannot have mending applied to it, and so additional levels of Unbreaking make a lot of sense for those kinds of armors. Initially, though, you're going to be dealing with iron or diamond at the very best, and those allow mending. And you're probably going to be dealing with villagers in order to get mending. So initially, I feel like this is not that useful. It is something that's used all the time, like Well Fit, but it's only a 20% chance of making a difference. And you can get mending and get those durability points back. So I'm going to put that down here on this level. Like I've said before, every talent is useful, but how useful is it for a new player is what we're after here. And let me just fix this real quick. It's not unbreaking. It's unbreakable. I'm just kind of an idiot sometimes. So moving on, let's look at Elvish. Now Elvish is rather expensive at 5 skill points, but it permanently removes all fall damage. That seems awesome to me, honestly. I think a really good way to test out Elvish is just to use Mega Jump. As you can see, we take 4 hearts of fall damage from that height. Now, if we learn Elvish, and now after learning Elvish, if we Mega Jump, take no fall damage. Honestly, I think Mega Jump and Elvish are made to work together. That just seems like a match made in heaven to me. But at 6 total skill points, it's not obtainable to a new player. Elvish by itself is 5. That's really expensive. To me, Elvish is a really good talent, I think. It pairs very well with Mega Jump and is generally useful, but the 5 skill points make it extremely expensive and not really viable as a new player. I'm going to have to put it down here at the bottom tier. Yes, it's very useful, I can tell, but that is a late game talent, I feel, because of the cost. Continuing down the line of talents here, we have Step. Grants the ability to step up full blocks, and note, this is not the same as Minecraft's auto jump feature. At 5 skill points, it's a very expensive one, and it has no level requirements. So, the distinction here is really subtle, I feel. The auto jump feature is available in your options menu under the accessibility. It defaults to auto jump on, so most people are used to playing with this. As you walk along, when you encounter a full block like this, it just auto jumps up, and that is the auto jump feature. If you don't have the auto jump feature turned on, you'll just kind of stop here until you hit the jump key. But every time you jump, it uses up some saturation, some of your hunger bar. If you don't want to use any of your hunger bar, you need to use steps and half slabs to walk up those blocks differences. And so it's a very subtle distinction. All right, well, where does this talent fit on our board here? 5 skill points is very, very expensive. Just as expensive as Elvish. I really don't see the value in being able to step up the blocks here, so I think it's even less valuable than Elvish. I don't have a lower tier, so I'm going to put it right here. I fail to see where this one is worth the points, and please comment down below if you see something that I don't, but to me, this doesn't even seem valuable in the late game. This seems to be something that you buy once you have all of the other skills. Next talent to look at is Stoneskin. This skill increases the player's knockback resistance, reducing the amount of knockback of projectiles and melee hits, starting 10% and moving on up. There are no requirements for the first 3 levels, which each cost 1 point, so you could get 3 levels in this skill if you wanted. Now, knockback is where you physically get moved back when something hits you. A Stoneskin is another one that I feel is going to be really hard to demonstrate. I don't think that you can see a noticeable difference in the amount of knockback until you get to 100%, in which there's no knockback at all. The player also can get a 40% knockback resistance from netherite armor. So where do I think Stoneskin fits into this? I think Stoneskin is a lot like Unbreakable. So I'm going to stick it on the same tier. It's one of those nice to haves. It is always going to be useful. I think the use proposition is maybe not very strong, especially for lower level characters. The next item up is Haste, and it says, increases the player's swinging speed of any tool or weapon by applying haste levels permanently. There are no level requirements for the first 2 levels, and at 2 points each, they are a little expensive, but you could get them with your beginning skill points. Haste is one of the most commonly sought after effects from a beacon, and I think that only goes up to Haste 2. So the fact that you can get Haste 5 is pretty darn powerful, I'd say. But let's see what it looks like in practice. So if we start off with a stone pick and no haste applied yet, it's fairly slow to break the blocks as we're used to. A better quality tool makes that a lot faster. But now let's see what it looks like with Haste 1. That same wood pickaxe actually doesn't look that much faster. How about the same diamond pickaxe? I definitely feel like that's faster. I do feel like this is the same speed increase that we see with a beacon, so taking 2 levels of haste should be the same as a haste 2 beacon. Alright, well, where do I feel like haste fits up here? I think haste is pretty darn valuable. I'm actually going to put it on an A tier below Twerker. I think that it's something that a lot of people strive for, like I said, through the use of beacons, and having it just built in is going to be really nice. It's certainly not something that you need, but it's really nice to have. Our next skill to take a look at is Speed. This says it increases the player's movement speed by applying speed levels permanently, scaling 1 to 5. Level 1 has a cost of 0, but is the only level that you can get until you get vault level. So let's do a comparison of the speeds. This might actually be hard to tell. We'll find out. So I'm moving at a run now and kind of comparing the speed. Taking now the level in speed and moving at a run now once again. I can notice a little bit of a difference. It's not very much, but I can notice a little bit. And well, where does this one fit in? Honestly, I feel like speed is always useful, especially in the vaults because they're timed. I feel like speed is going to be as useful as haste and putting it on that A tier. Also, notice that these effects that we're seeing over here are because of the talents that are being taken. Now, I did take a second level of haste for some experimentation, but this proves the point that haste and speed are the exact same as the effects that you would get from a beacon or a potion in this case. The last talent to look at is reach. It says it passively increases the player's reach distance for interacting with blocks, chests, and other entities in the game, and it increases at a rate of 1 block per level. Now, you're only allowed to get 2 levels as a beginning player, but those levels only cost 1 skill point each. Maybe the best way to demonstrate this is to go do some mining. If you go straight up against the wall here, your default reach is 5 blocks. So we can mine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, by taking the reach talent, I can mine 1 more block all the way back there at the end. It doesn't do anything to help me pick up the blocks, apparently. For each of these things, I try to come up with an object to stick on the board that matches the talent that we're learning. For reach, I really struggled. I took a piston. I don't know. If you have a better idea, let me know. Anyway, where do I think reach fits on this board? I don't think it's as good as speed or haste, even though it is always useful. I don't think it's as important early on. So I'm going to put it down here with well fit. I think that's a pretty good match. It's one of those things that definitely make a difference and make your life a little easier, but it's something that can wait a little bit longer too. Now, just like last time, I'm going to take a moment, look over this board, and see if there's anything that I want to change. Because sometimes after seeing how everything is laid out, I might want to change my mind. But nope, I'm happy with things just the way they are. Twerker, yep, no doubt about it. S tier, I think you always want it every game. It's a no-brainer. The rest of them, that all depends on your play style and the situations that you find yourself in. So take this tier list, which is just all my opinions, and do with it as you see fit. If you think that I'm wrong on something and really like the Elvish talent, for instance, well, by all means, go for it. Everybody's their own boss here. But if you think that there's something that I've got very wrong, and maybe some aspect that I'm totally missing in my analysis of where to place these talents, let me know in the comments down below. I'm not an expert in this game. I'm getting started just like you, so my point of view is that from a beginner because that's where I am. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed this little video. I enjoyed making it. If you want to join me, I stream VaultHunters on Monday nights on Twitch, and then make my own YouTube series about it. And as always, please like or subscribe if you think this content is interesting and valuable to you. I really appreciate it. For now, that's all I've got to say. So be excellent to each other, and I'm out.